We shouldn't forget that the media industry is an in and out people business. There is a means to an end to enable people, to enable a conducive environment whereby you have collaborative workflows between what are the creative talents, the editorial talents, the business people, the technical talents, with one end goal, is to create memorable media experiences and engage an audience around that.
Yeah, so we definitely see the design and the programming and the digital capacities being an essential piece. And this can be digital from the widest perspective. So for me, for instance, as a marketeer, it's everything about digital marketing, marketing automation, and enhancing, for instance, website, user experience as an example. But it's all the way down to content production and editing. The need for people to be able to work in that basis with their knowledge skill is extremely high for us.
There are some universities, some academic institutions in certain parts of the world, they're still very focused on video encoding. It's a really hardcore science. The talent is there. You just have to look maybe a little more globally for it. Certainly, some of it is just education in terms of skill gap. How many people understand how great this industry is, the opportunities that are available, and if a student's not aware of that, well, then it's sort of understandable why they're not pursuing the academic programs or the training paths that are available to them.
I think we see it in software and developers. Just basically that whole idea is like everything moves to software. There's like, I can't think of anybody that's at the show that isn't trying to move from hardware to software, and then they're just having a lack of software developers.
It's no longer just you want a bunch of techie people in a room. You want a bunch of technology creatives that can really try and do something special and different with either the software you're creating or the services. And that means, ultimately, that skills gap is broader than maybe what we're used to seeing. I need a pure network engineer or I need a pure cloud engineer. I need people with those skills who have that creative edge who can help develop it.
If anything that's in the market today that's in terms of a skills gap, it is data engineers. They're the new gold. You got to pay them in bullion. That expertise to be able to really get into very large data set. We manage 4.2 billion video views per month. That rich data set has all kinds of value to come in it. So having data engineers that can get through and mine through all that data, super valuable. The second thing is, how do you then visualize that story that's inherent in the data so that you can actually understand it? It's kind of the key area right now where finding great data engineers is definitely always a pursuit.
Narrative storytellers. There's a lot of engineers, but how do you actually translate that into a story for a buyer? And the second piece is just generally, and something we'll be talking about here also in the Changemaker panel, is the diversity of the people that we can recruit into the industry. There's most certainly great talent, but the question is, how do we kind of expand the talent availability into other places? And importantly, I think that produces better ideas over the long run, better products in the long run when you have that diversity of ideas in your company.
Okay, no longer is it just about bringing a broadcast engineer who's come from a broadcast course in. It's about finding people who have some of those core digital skills, cloud capability, coding, whatever that may be, but also a mix of creativity in that as well, because the industry really is demanding more creativity in the technology that's created and the content that's created.
There is definitely a big skills gap in the market, especially when it comes to operators and specialists that know how to use this type of equipment. What we're seeing is a lot of the universities are investing in courses and academic diplomas really to plug this skills gap. So they themselves, we've seen a lot of universities come to us during this show. They're investing in this equipment so they can plug that gap, basically. And then they also commercializing it themselves so they can make money at the same time.
Security professionals, there is almost like a crisis. There are no enough people to run the security operations of companies that are not security companies. They buy the tools and the product, but then there are not enough people to run it. And this is why it's very important for tech companies that are operating in the security and anti-piracy area is to make their solutions work on their own almost.
There's still lots of low-hanging fruit in how we make this entire content supply chain from glass to glass much more data-driven, much more scientific, and much more fluid and digitally connected. So that's a big learning. There's an increasing trend in making more virtualized environments for people working together. People can be anywhere on the planet to produce content, to do pre-production, post-production, whatever, editorial work. All that is increasingly feeding into a more efficient end-to-end content value chain and end-to-end content supply chain with one goal again. This is a people business, is to engage the audience.